On football, the FKF leadership gave the football stakeholders a shocker last week in a presser, saying FKF has been running 16 bank accounts and they are in over 300 million debt. And of course, to get more context to that, Ziti Jimo is at the scoreboard just to break it down for us. Ziti?
Swila, you've said 16, of course, bank accounts, but we'll go step by step. Let's start with, of course, there was a key areas of concern during the transition committee that came up with. And then the first one, of course, they started with the human resources management. And there was a lot of things that they were not clear about. Of course, absence of clear policies. Of course, if you don't have good policies in the HR, of course, everything will go upside. Suspect of course, contracts that were not making sense, and then salary dispute. I will go to Shitera and ask you this question. But before I go to Shitera, I'll start with Lango. Lango, please tell us, if you have all these in your company, are you going really to function whereby the human resources management policies are not clear? That is one of the key points that was for concern during the transition committee, the report that they were given.
I didn't get your question clearly.
I'm saying the first thing that they noticed during the transition committee, the errors that they noticed, they don't have the human resource management, that the clear policy that people, how contracts are being given to people, that is maybe contract unapewa contract na it's not clear on how you're going to be paid. Salary, of course, unalipwa salary na hizo salary maybe si azifai zilikuwa yani na errors. What do you think? What do you think about this? The point of
I think because we are being told there were a lot of errors in the previous administration, especially on management of funds. I think it was just a way of embezzling public funds, using different, maybe kutumia watu tofauti and accounts tofauti, ili kutumia pesa vibaya kutumia vibaya pesa za umma. I think that is what I can deduce from that.
From that, of course, the second concern, of course, it was about referring and match-fixing hooliganism, allegation of corruption, biasness into officiating, and rising cases of hooliganism. I can tell by the word, there was a clip that was going around on social media, the hooliganism that happened between the FC Leopards game and Murang'a Seal, and then there was another one that was in Migori that happened. Swila, you've seen this, and then there was again allegation whereby the people who were laid off during the match, they were among the match-fixing people. They have been brought back and they have not even served their ban. What do you think about this point whereby the hooliganism and match-fixing, the second error?
I think our handling of hooliganism has been a joke. It actually is mediocrity in the highest level, because what we do is just playing lip service. We want to deal with hooliganism. Want to deal with hooliganism. You know, for us to deal with this, we need to check how other jurisdictions have been able to deal with this problem. Because in Kenya, what we always say, we shift blame. Police didn't act, home club didn't act, and so on and so forth. What happens in the West is when you have proper ticketing, you have cameras installed in the stadium. And of course, we're able to tell. If it's Festus who brought trouble, we're able to tell Festus bought which ticket. At what point where did he sit? It makes it very easy to arrest and nab the culprit. Two, how do you let fans get into the stadium with crude weapons, with stones? This is happening time and again. Again, what are the ramifications? What we've always seen is Gor Mahia sanctioned 1 million, 2 million. But how about the culprits themselves? If it is Festus who hurled the stones, we want to see Festus being arraigned. We've not really done much to tame hooliganism. So until that is done, this is still going to be a problem week in, week out.
Week in, week out, of course, that is about hooliganism. Or the third point of the third area of concern, which is very, very important. Of course, I'll want of course, someone to answer this. There's a financial management and debt crisis. Of course, excess more than 16 bank accounts that they had. And then the second one is outstanding liability total. Of course, Indio pesa deni walituachia hapo that 383 million, of course, 940. That was what they've left for us. That is the debt. Of course, it was about extender agencies and services provider. And then unique allocation of funds. Of course, when you talk about unequal allocation of funds, we talk about the teams. That is a Women Premier League, of course, talk about the NSL. They don't get these funds. They only funds. Where are they going? I will want someone to do that, but I will want you to cross the other side so that you can do because of the camera, so that you cross this side where Lango is, so that I can ask this question. So please, when you cross, tell us, what do you think about all these 16? Do you have to have 16 bank accounts? And then is it Denizote? How do you think the new regime, that is the FKF new office, is going to handle it?
Thank you, Zite. The fact that you have these 16 bank accounts makes it difficult to account for the monies, because it is not proper for an institution, just one institution, to be operating 16 bank accounts that cannot be explained. Then you look at the debt that has been left, you look at the chunk of it, it was payment to service providers without proper contracts. Some of them were legal fees that have not been paid, and some of them have been backdated to up to maybe 2021. So you keep on wondering, how has the organization been running with the debts? Because there was no proper financial reporting, which, in my opinion, I'd say it was very deliberate to mismanage, to have this many accounts, so that when you raise a question, they can choose whichever account that they feel is cleaner to give to the auditors. But it is very unfair that such a thing was happening at the topmost organ that runs football in the country. And I think it's only fair that we have to put people to account so that we do not see a repeat of this. Because what this does is, even with the federation, the new office, I don't know if it's still new, it's 2 months, 3 months now, having a new office in place, for you to start getting partners to come in, for you to start getting even the government to add in more money, to pump in more money, would be very difficult if issues of accountability are still as they are. So if things cannot be made right from the HR policies, from how the allocation is done, to dealing with the match fixing and the hooliganism, I think we need to have a wholesome look at everything, so that we streamline the laws. At the same time, especially with match fixing and hooliganism, let us entrench that in law. Let us make it an offense for you to be match fixing, because right now we talk about match fixing, it's just a story and then it ends. So
yes,
if we do not make it an offense, we'll still not be.
Yes, if you don't make it an offense, of course, all these things will be happening. That is, Brenda, what he's saying. And then the last thing that, of course, the last thing on the list, that was the fourth one, is about the legal challenges and pending cases. We have 21 ongoing legal cases related to FKF operations, of course, including dispute over the past election, unpaid legal fees, and, of course, more and more, up to 21. What do you think about this, Wheeler? Because, of course, we had even the former FKF president going to court and coming back about the legal things, about money. What do you think about this?
Actually, this should be been a question for Wakili. She's the legal mind here.
Yes, please. Wakili, please.
Then let her chime in. She's the Wakili here.
Wakili, please.
Luckily, I participated in creating that, and I was, the fact that there are so many cases that would have been avoided simply by ensuring that there was proper compliance, because part of the 21 cases, I think part of the recommendations have been that let us drop the cases that have been overtaken by events, because if up to now somebody has a case in court that is against the electoral board, the elections have been over and we have a new office clearly in place. So the recommendations were that we drop the cases, but also the most important bit is streamline this so that we avoid these cases, because if you're having disputes with with clubs over registration. If you're having disputes with the service providers over unpayment, it only means that the fact that you do not have proper structures in the organization opens up FKF or opens up the management to legal disputes. Yes, going to court to seek redress is everyone's right, but then how do we limit? What are the other avenues that would be cheaper to try and solve disputes? Because any organization would have disputes arising. If you have employees, definitely there are going to be employment matters arising. But the moment you have streamlined your operations so that the rules are clear and you explore other cheaper and faster, or rather more efficient means of solving disputes or solving issues within the organization, that should be embraced. That would help solve all these problems that you're facing.
And on the same scale, I'd like to add, I say, you know, we've had story from one side. There's a slogan that is saying we listen, but we don't judge. So for me, I'm listening, but I'll judge until the previous federation
respond
right.
Respond to that.
Okay.
Yes, as Lango said, we will wait for the previous office to come and, of course, bring their answers, of course, saying that, of course, Mesema Ivy, but it is ABCD and EFGH. So we'll be waiting for that. As, again, we wait this week to see who is going to be named the CEO of the FKF team. So back to you, Sila.
And of course, that's Zita there. Of course, we expect a new chief executive officer at the Football Kenya Federation. And of course, we'll keep you informed on that development. For now, we are asking you to the question of the day. What is your expectation of the new sheriff in town? That's Gor Mahia, the new coach. What is your expectation of the new Gor Mahia head coach? Talk to us. 2242 hashtag Sporty Monday at Citizen TV Kenya, at Isaac Swila, at Zita Jimoi. You can also engage us on Facebook. And of course, we'll be sampling some of your feedback at the tail end of this program.